All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for attending. I'm really excited to get started with ball soccer this year. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jack Miller, and I'm the senior director here at the Jeep Rogers YMCA over sports and facilities. If you were here 2 years ago, you would have had me as your sports director, and then I went downtown for the last 2 years to run their Owens Field location, about double our size here at Jeep. And so I went down there for 2 years, and they brought me back here to kind of take back on the Jeep soccer. So and all of our sports here. So I'm really excited about being back here at Jeep and working with our all of our soccer and volleyball participants this fall. Um, do want to go over some of the things for the meeting so you know what to expect and kind of what to do. You do not need to have your video on. Don't feel the need to do that unless you absolutely want to. We do keep everybody muted just so we don't have people talking over each other. But if you want to ask a question, you can ask it in the chat box, and I will look through those and answer those as we go. Please ask questions. That's really the primary purpose for this, is to allow you guys to ask as many questions and not feel the pressure of having all 30 or 40 returning coaches. That's why we're going to try this year with just the new coaches or people who this is the first year interested in coaching, so that you have your own time and you're not worried about the other 40 full-time coaches or coaches that have been here before, and you can have your own space. So please ask questions. Nothing is too new. There are no dumb questions in this meeting. I would rather you ask and get an answer for the good of the group. So we will get started and go over a few things that I have, and then we'll kind of open it up to a question time. If you have any questions while I'm talking, please put it in the chat, and we'll definitely get to those. You don't have to wait to the end. As far as just the basics of coaching, if you put on your registration that you were interested in being a coach, an assistant coach, a team parent, then you will, when we make teams, you will be assigned a team. And it will be the team that your child is playing on. So if you have a child in the 6, 7 year olds and you put on your thing, you want to be a coach, if we were to assign you as a coach, you would be with their team. If you did not mark that down, but now you've gotten the emails, you see we need coaches, you're interested, and then I would just need you to reach out to me so that we can get you started, and we are ready to go. So as far as what a coach does with the Y, because that's the most common question is okay, I signed up to coach, what does that mean? So you will have one practice a week starting in 2 weeks, starting in the week of the 14th. So that practice will be an hour. It's typically at 5:30 or 6:30. When we build out teams, we look at what nights you picked that work for you. We look at what nights the parents that are on that team picked, and we assign you guys a practice night and a practice time that works within those boundaries. So it'll be sometime between Monday and Friday, 5:30 or 6:30. You will practice once a week throughout the entire season, and then you will have games on Saturdays. And those games will range from 8:45 in the morning to the youngest kids all the way up to about 4:15 in the afternoon for the oldest kids. One game a week, and we actually have a lot of inter-house play this year. We cut down our cross-play list considerably for Jeep this season, so there'll actually be a lot of teams that are staying here. Only the 8 to 9 girls, 10 to 11 girls, and 12 to 15 co-eds are traveling this year. So everybody 7 and younger will be staying in-house. Our 8 to 9 boys will be staying in-house, and our 10 to 11 boys will be staying in-house. So there'll be no cross-play travel for those groups, which is might be nice for some parents to not have to worry about traveling to different locations. So the requirement, or what the expectation be for that coach, is you're going to be put onto a team. If you sign up to coach, or if you ask to coach, you're going to be put onto a team as the head coach, and you'll see all that information. But parents will use Player Space to see all that information as well. They'll see practice times, and they'll be able to see coaching information. They'll know when to show up. Most of the communication is actually done through the YMCA. We notify them of practice times, game times. We notify them of rainouts. The only thing that, as far as communication, that a coach would do is notify if you cancel a practice that the Y doesn't cancel. So if you can't be there or something comes up and you know you're not going to have kids and you cancel, then you would need to communicate that through them. And we do have Player Space, that's the app that we use, does have a communication tool that you can send a message through. You can also come up with a text chat, but that would be the only communication piece that you really have to do. Other than that, the Y really handles all the communication for the entire season for every team. For practices, like I said, it's an hour in length. We do provide equipment. So when you show up for your practice, you're going to have the field already set up, and you're going to have soccer balls and cones already set out for you to practice with. The only thing that we don't supply, just because we don't have a good way to wash them and keep them clean throughout the season, is practice pennies. But we do provide cones and soccer balls for every team in case you don't have enough or kids don't bring any. And you'll get one goal and one half of the field to practice on. So and I'm just seeing questions pop up on the right. So when we were talking about player space, how do you get on player space? So if you want to coach, that's where you just need to reach out to me. If you put in your registration that you want to be a coach, if you mark that down, you're going to get an email from me here. If not tonight, then tomorrow. That's going to have a link that if you take that link, it's going to take you into player space, let you set up an account. It is different. That account is different from if you are a parent. So if you are already on player space, you played with us in the past, and you had a parent account and you could see your child's roster and everything, that's great. But the coach's account is going to be different. So you're going to sign up separately. And so that link that I send you will give you how to sign up, how to sign in as a coach, how to volunteer as a coach, what you need to fill out, and then we'll get you assigned to that team. So it will be a separate link, and we'll send that out. And everything that you need to fill out to be a coach is in that link. So we're going to send that out either tonight or tomorrow, and you'll get that. What I'll also send out when I send that email out to coaches is the rule book that we'll be going over. So you'll have the rule book and be able to look through that as well. And we will go over the rule book quickly tonight. And then if you join the full coaches meeting next week, we'll go over the rule book a little more in depth. Any questions so far? All right. What is a YMCA coach? It's one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, when I talk to parents. So we'll take soccer, for example, since that's what this call is about. A lot of people think that to coach soccer at the YMCA, they need to have a background in soccer, they need to have played soccer. It's really not the case. A lot of our really good coaches didn't play. They just really enjoy working with kids. And they want to see the kids have the best experience. It's not that hard to learn how to coach soccer at this level. There's a lot of basics and there's a lot of tools on the internet. There are practice plans that I can provide. We work and partner with people to get tools. So there's practice plans, there's YouTube videos. Learning how to teach the basics of the game is the simple part. It's about wanting to make a difference, wanting to make an impact on the kids' lives. That's really the most important part about being a coach at the Y. We want to see them have fun. We want to see kids grow to love the sport, and this is a lot of their first opportunities to play the sport. And so as they decide if they want to take it further, this is their opportunity just to learn and see the sport. So that's the important part for us, is that coaches facilitate fun and that they facilitate equality. We are equal playing time. So if you have 12 kids and we're playing 6-on-6, they're going to have to play an equal amount of time. If you have 10 kids and we're playing 6-on-6, again, equal amount of time. And we don't want just the best kids to play. That's been our big push in the last 6 months. It's not just the best kids that play, it's every child plays, and every child has the same experience, because that's how they grow. That's how they learn, is by getting to play, getting that playing time on the field. And that we are teaching sportsmanship versus teaching skill. Again, a big part of what we believe, we do want kids to learn. We want kids to grow in the sport, but more importantly, we want them to learn how to act. We want them to learn how to behave on a soccer field, and how to behave as participants when they're winning or when they're losing. And then the basic fundamentals. That's really our goal. We would rather they come out of this being better people than being better soccer players. That's really the focus of our league and what we need our coaches, and we ask our coaches to focus on, while still teaching that skill development, that fundamental skill development. So that's our expectation of a coach. The FAQs that I get a lot that I want to go over. And so this might be, maybe you have this question. And so I just want to go over, these are ones I get the most often from new coaches. What equipment do I need? Again, like I said, we provide you with soccer balls and cones. We will have those to you at the field when you come to practice. You don't have to provide anything. If you want to and you want to bring some extra stuff, that's fine, but we will supply the soccer balls and the cones for you to use, and you'll have the field space when you get there, and that'll be assigned to you, and you'll get that through player space. You do only have one practice a week, and you cannot practice off-site. So all the practices for that team have to be done at the Y. For various insurance purposes and child abuse prevention purposes. We only allow teams to practice once a week on our site. Jerseys. So jerseys come from us. We order them based on what they put. We will hand you your jersey packet at the beginning of the season. That jersey packet will have jerseys for every kid on your team and a pair of socks. And so we will hand that to you before your first game, along with a list of what size they ordered, so that you know who to give what. The only thing that kids need is to shin guards, cleats are recommended, not required, shorts. That's it. And then we'll provide the socks and the jerseys. And they do keep them. I get that question every once in a while. They do whatever jersey they get, they keep for the season. We don't provide a practice or a goalie jersey. But we do provide pennies. So when they go to a game, we will have pennies set out that the goalies will wear to identify themselves on the field. For those, by the way, for those few of you that have joined late, we are recording this meeting and we will put this meeting up and send a link out so parents can watch. So if you've missed something, you will be able to go back and watch it again. End of season. So when we get to the end of the season, we do provide a medal for every player and we will hand those to you before your last game. We are going to try our hardest to open up the pavilion out at our fields for end of year parties. But if you just can't, and we don't have enough space, then we may have to kind of come up with some other times. But we will try as hard as we can to give people space at the pavilion for end of season. But every team will get a medal from us. Assistant coaches. So a lot of times coaches get in and they would like help. They'd like parents to help. Yes, you can have parents help. You can have parents assist practicing games. I just need to know they need to register through me. We'll send them the same link I'll send you if you're a coach, and they will sign up and get put on the app. But yes, we can have multiple parents be assistant coaches. And honestly, teams tend to work better in that ecosystem of having multiple parents that help. It helps when you need to be away and you can't be there for a game of practices, that they can step in and help. And we expect our parents to help coaches. And if a coach needs to be away, the parents step in and help coach that game or coach that practice. So that's what I have as frequently asked questions. Before I go on to the part where we're just going to look through the rules, is there any questions about anything? Basics of coaching, back into, the administration of coaching, dates, what it looks like, how do I sign up? Anything that you would like to ask? You go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm just going to pull up this document real quick and I will look at the questions. Responsibility between an assistant coach and a head coach. So I wouldn't say there's a ton of difference. It's more about how it's displayed. So the head coach is going to be displayed on player space, so that there's a point of contact and a reference on who is in charge of that team. Although there are several teams that will have multiple coaches, so they'll kind of co-coach it. We're going to put one name there because we just need a primary name that when we send emails out, it's going to the head coach. But the reality is sometimes there are parents that take on that responsibility of being the primary on player space, but the person who's doing the most training and practicing is a different coach, and that's fine. Again, it's more of a label for us. So I just need the primary to put in player space, and then it can fluctuate a little bit between what assistant coach does or co-coaches do. And that often will stem from those conversations held between coaches, that what's the need and who's going to help who, and parents stepping in to help, and what's the most, what's the biggest need for that coach. All right, if you have another question, pop it in the chat. I'm going to start going over the rules real quick. Like I said, I'm not going to do a deep dive on this because we will have a full coaches meeting next Monday that will also be recorded, and that's where we'll go through a lot more of the rules with our returning coaches. But just to give you an idea, you'll see this document when I send it out, so you'll be able to go through and read it on your own. But just to show, so these are some of the team duties. You are going to have a bench area, and so different from the previous years, you will have a bench, a physical bench that will be your team's bench for the game, and we just ask that you help clean that up when the games are done. And you will both be on the same sideline opposite of parents. So both teams will be on one sideline, all parents will be on the other sideline. We say there's a limit of 3 coaches, and we'd like to keep it that way. We do kind of feel like too many coaches can be bad for the kids, so we'd like to stay at just a maximum of 3 on that team's sideline. In the 3 to 7-year-olds, we do allow coaches on the field. Again, we're focused on development, and they need a coach that's there and helping on the field. Once we get above, once we go 8 and above, then we ask that coaches not be on the field. They'd be on their sideline only, and that they not stand behind the goals. Our sportsmanship, again, this is standard across all of our leagues, that we don't keep scores or records, and sportsmanlike conduct is not tolerated. If we do have ejections, you will be suspended. If the atmosphere of the game feels unsafe, sorry, or our values are not being adhered to, the referees can end the game early. If a team is if you're short a player, then we would play down. If we don't have, so for example, for our 6 to 7-year-olds where we play 7-on-7, if we only have 5 players, that game's a forfeit, but we would then pull players from the other team and allow them to play each other just to try to get that game in, even though it won't be a regulation game, it would at least play the game. Again, I'm not going to go through everything completely in depth, but if you're curious what age group that you're looking at coaching, you can see the divisions broken down, how many players they play on the field. That does include a goalie. So 7v7 would be 6 players on the field, and then the goalie would be the 7th. The roster sizes that you would have, and we try to max that number. So if this says 13, we try to get 13 players on your team, but sometimes it is less than that. It would never be less than 7. How many play with a goalie, what the halves are, and then what size soccer ball they play with. And again, we'll provide those soccer balls when you come out to practice, and we will have soccer balls for the game as well. Let's see. And I'm going to try to catch your questions as you go. I'm coming to the solo. How do I go about finding assistant coaches? Perfect. So assistant coaches, a couple ways to do it. Sometimes before the season ever starts, when you send out your first email, or if you do, and if you get with your parents early, a lot of times you'll say, hey, I'm the head coach, but is there somebody, can I get a couple parents to help assist? Parents will reach out, happy to help, and you know early on going in. Sometimes with those 4 to 5s, it's that first Saturday that you get out there on the field. So for the 4 to 5s, their first Saturday meeting is going to be August 19th. And that first Saturday on the field, you get all the parents together, and those parents step up. A lot of parents, once you break the barrier of knowing, hey, I don't have to have the responsibility of being a head coach. Here's the guy who's the head coach. Here's the woman who's the head coach. I'll help you. I'll do what I can when I'm here. And that kind of breaks that barrier. And then once we know, then we can go forward. But yeah, absolutely. With the 4 to 5s and the 3s, it's often common to see up to 3 coaches, parents that are stepping in. There's a lot of community in those 4 to 5-year-old teams where it's not just one person, everybody's watching. I would say of every team that I've ever had, we've had at least 2 coaches, if not 3, for every 3 to 4 to 5-year-old team, because parents are more willing to help at that age. And then that way too, like you said, while you're on the field, you have people helping sub in. For referees, so once they are 6 years old and are on our main fields, that's when we apply referees. So for the 3s and the 4 5s, the coaches act as the facilitators for those games. So for our 3s and our 4 to 5-year-olds, they only meet on Saturdays for 1 hour. So Saturday the 19th will be their first meeting, and they will practice that entire hour. You'll be able to meet as a team, get to know the parents, they'll get their jerseys, you'll do some practice drills, and it's just a way to meet and see your community. And then on the 26th, when we have our first games, and going forward for all the Saturdays, those teams will meet for 20 minutes on their practice field, do a couple of drills, get warmed up, and then for 40 minutes, they will scrimmage another team. And so they'll scrimmage in quarters, and everybody will play. So they will not have referees. Coaches will lead that. 6 and up, they will play on Saturdays. They will have 1 referee for the 6 to 9-year-olds and the 2 referees for the 10 and up. And again, just pop questions in as I'm going, and I will try to answer them as I see them. I won't go through all the rules, but just some of the ones that are most common. So we do have a mercy rule. If you're down by a bunch of goals, they can't press. If you're down by 6 or more, you start adding players. So we do a reverse mercy rule. Instead of them having to take players off, you get to add players on, again, in an effort to try to increase playing time and keeping more players on the field and allowing more kids to get touches. We do have build out lines this year, which is new for our 6 to 9-year-olds, where we will be painting on the field lines that the defense has to back up behind on any goal kicks or goalie possession. So to keep kids from getting pressed, essentially, when we have kickoffs and goal kicks. Throw-ins. So for our 3 to 5-year-olds, we don't do throw-ins. For our 3 to 5-year-olds, we just get the ball in and play. The goal is to get them touches, to keep them playing and keep them kicking. For our 6 to 15-year-olds, we do throw-ins. For our 6 to 9-year-olds, we're going to give them a warning, and then we're going to have them redo it. For our 10 to 15s, there's not going to be a warning. We're going to expect them to understand that you can't, what the rules are. We don't allow headers in our 3 to 9-year-olds, but we do allow headers in our 10 to 15s. We don't allow slide tackling in any of our age groups. I won't go over a lot of these rules as they're more in depth. And like I said, we'll do that in the next meeting, or you can read over them. Handballs is one of the most common questions we get. So we did adjust. This is a new rule book, by the way. If you're played with us before, this is a brand new rule book. I wrote this rule book this summer. So this is brand new. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know, because this is our first season with it, so we know we might have to adjust. For our 6 to 7 year olds, we're going to play on a lot. If you're a coach with 6 to 7 year old team, we're going to try to play on. There's going to be a lot of unintentional handballs in the game that we're going to try to play on as much as possible. For the 8 to 15s, we'll set the standards a little bit higher of keeping our arms down, not having them out, not intentionally moving towards the ball, or if it hits their hand before it goes in the goal, then we will start calling those handballs. But for the 3 to 5s, it's just try to keep them inside the square. 6 to 7s, we're going to let a lot go, because again, our focus is fun, and our focus is on playing the game. And every whistle and every stoppage is time that they're not playing. So as much as possible, we want to keep them on the field and playing. This part of the uniform, so they do have to have their YMCA issued uniform and shin guards underneath their socks. If a child shows up and does not have their shin guards on, we are not going to make that child sit out, but we do need to push that they're wearing their right uniform, they're wearing their shin guards, but we are not going to tell a child they cannot play. Again, won't go over this. This talks a little bit about the referees. And then substitution. So for our 3 to 5 year olds, they can be subbed out whenever the coach wants to sub in and out. And we'll just get those kids moving in and out. The 6 to 9 year olds, those referees will stop time every 5 minutes and intentionally call for subs. And then the 10 to 15 year olds can sub whenever a free substitution would be allowed. For the 3s and 4 5 year olds, again, it would be the coaches. The 3s and 4 5s, the coaches facilitate. And so we'll have some stopwatches that coaches can use, or the phone or somebody. But the coaches would facilitate, because some coaches, we have this at Owens Field actually. Some coaches would not want to practice the full 20 minutes. They both coaches wanted to play a little bit longer, and so they'd agree to 4 10-minute quarters. That's fine. The hour is there for you guys. We do expect some practice and then a game, but sometimes all the parents and all the coaches are on the same page, and as long as we work together and that's okay with both coaches, we're fine with that. Whatever works best for the kids and benefits the kids on those teams the most. All right. So that's the essentials of the rule book for soccer. And again, there's some more in-depth, but that's the basics. So are there any, that's all that we have on the agenda. Again, this was our first time doing this. We're throwing a lot at you, especially if you're new. So then we really wanted to come back and just say, okay, what are some questions you have? What are things that you might be curious about or unsure of? What might scare you going into the season or prevent you from coaching? A team parent, so that's it's just kind of there to assist the coach. So set up a snack schedule, maybe they take some. It can look different. I've seen some teams where the team parent is the one who communicates and reminds people when to be at practices, when to be at games. Some where they just set up a snack schedule. Some where the coach doesn't really need anything and the team parent doesn't really do a whole lot. It just kind of depends on what the coach needs, but they're really just there to help assist the coach. And help them on the back end of, like I said, communication, making sure kids are there on time, making sure kids have the right jersey on, and making sure that snacks, who's supposed to bring snacks. Any other questions? If while you're typing, so again, this meeting isn't a commitment. If you weren't somebody, like I said, if you didn't put down to coach, if you put down to coach on your registration, then we've already got that. And so we'll be pushing those out. If you didn't, and you're just here to kind of learn and you are interested now in coaching, please just send me an email with your name and the player's name so I can get that moving forward. We need coaches for every age group, and that's kind of normal for us. So there's always a need. If you want to send me an email with the age group you're looking for, or your players in, and I can tell you if we need a coach for that age group specifically, or if we already have them on a team. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Since I haven't seen another question for about a minute, we will officially end the meeting. I appreciate everybody showing up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick around until the last person leaves. So if you had a question and you kind of wanted to wait, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to officially end and stop the recording.